MTK is a boxing promotion company on paper. It was founded by a man called Kinnan, an Irish heroin dealer, sort of public enemy number one here in Ireland. The police have been after him for years. They know his company is a laundering outfit for drug money. But so far, they haven't been able to prove it. And at the moment, he's living, I believe, in Dubai. He's based in Dubai. Surprise, surprise. Now, it is no surprise to me that the anti-racist lobby now have drug pushers supporting them. That's no surprise at all. And in Britain, there was a football match a couple of days ago, and we have a well-known racist called Rashford. And he's on the radio every other minute now. And he's being hailed as a great anti-racist, etc., etc. Of course, he supports Black Lives Matter, and needless to say, he doesn't live in a black ghetto controlled by Black Lives Matter, because there's a very good chance that he'd end up dead. There's a good chance his wife or his girlfriend would end up raped, because that's what happens when Black Lives Matter take over. You know, they get rid of the police. And black people, of course, just get shot by gangsters in their own neighborhood. And black women, of course, get raped by people in their own neighborhood. But none of this, the fact that MTK drug pushers to the hilt, the fact that these people are now part of the anti-racist brigade doesn't surprise me at all. It's part of the course. You know, when I hear people on the radio being described as anti-racist, I know they're racist and evil to the core. If people are described as homophobic, for instance, I know they support gay rights. If people are called sort of racist or anti-immigrant, I know they're pro-immigrant. You know, everything that's said on the radio now, I assume it means the exact opposite. But as I say, this doesn't surprise me. But it does anger me. It angers me that this non-stop, rabid, anti-white racism, it's relentless. It never gives up. And the likes of this MTK Global, one of the things they put out on Twitter, it wasn't just that there was no place in boxing for racism. They said there was no place anywhere for racism. And this ties in with something that a well-known Irish singer, well-known in Ireland, Imelda May, she said there's no place in Ireland if you're a racist. Oh yes, you can't be Irish and racist. In fact, down the road from where I live, there are posters with her quote on it saying you can't be Irish and racist. And this is genocidal talk because, of course, the word racist, what it really means is you can't oppose the woke agenda and be Irish. That's what they mean. It means there is no place for you anywhere if you believe in democracy, Western civilization, gay rights, women's rights, etc. And just let me say something in passing here. You know, our side of the fence, so to speak, the people who would be called far right, we miss a trick all the time in this. You know, we should be out supporting gay rights openly, and women's rights, and immigrant rights, because we are, in fact, the only people who support immigrants' rights. You know, immigrants' rights, that's part of the Western lexicon, if you like. We believe in immigrant rights, women's rights, gay rights. But of course, none of these people we're up against believe in any of that. The LGBT movement does not believe in gay rights, and it never has. The feminist movement have no interest in women's rights. And of course, the pro-immigration lobby have zero interest in immigrants' rights. Now, I believe in immigrants' rights, and the most fundamental, important right, of course, is the right to free speech, which every supposed to be pro-immigrant group are opposed to. But I believe every immigrant should have the right to free speech. I also believe every gay person should have the right to free speech. And I believe they should also have the right to their own opinion, whatever that opinion may be. So we missed a trick there because we're the only ones. We're the only ones protecting gay rights, women's rights, and immigrants' rights. But that's getting off the point. I just thought I'd mention that in passing because it gets on my nerves how people who are called far right they let the enemy take over all these groups. They let the enemy take the high ground, the moral ground. A really good example of that is when it comes to gay rights. The only people who support gay rights are the people who are opposed to the woke agenda, because gay rights are fundamentally Western. It's a Western concept. It's if you try to get rid of Western civilization, well, gay rights is part of that. Anyhow, wandering off the point completely. I have to say, no, I'm very angry about this. I could pretend it doesn't bother me, but it does. And this has a very real genocidal edge to it. This absolute total intolerance and hatred, which of course claims to be against hatred and intolerance. But this is really genocidal. The message is getting clearer and clearer here. If you believe in free speech, if you believe in basic Western rights, there's no place for you, not just in Ireland, England, in any Western country. And at the moment it's just talk, but the talk is becoming more and more rapid. But there you are. Here we have a company which is designed to launder drug money, and the people running this company are now telling us, in effect, there's no place for us in our own country. But most of all, what makes me angry is that people keep supporting MTK. Now, I'm a huge fan of women's boxing, and I'm an old guy, and I don't get out as much as I used to, and so my hobbies are precious to me, if you like. They're the only company I have, and one of my top hobbies, my top interests, is women's boxing. I love it. It's given me a new lease of life in the last 2 years, and I will miss it terribly. But I refuse to pay for it. It's rotten to the core with this wokeness. Of course, side by side with this wokeness, I mean, you've got Savannah Marshall, arguably the number one female boxer alive in England right now. And who's her coach? Well, it's a man called Peter Fury, a man who spent years and years in jail for selling drugs. The boxing business, it's riddled with drug pushers. Well, ex-drug pushers officially. And it's really, I mean, there's a lot of gangsterism in boxing. There's a lot of really nasty people. If you're a working class person, well, if you're anyone and you're selling drugs, you're nasty. But in particular, if you're a working class person, you're selling drugs in working class communities, you're rotten to the core. And a lot of people like that are involved in boxing, and they're well known to be. to have a drug background. But anyhow, I'm just here letting off steam. As usual, I haven't rehearsed anything, and I'm going off the point. But no, this is bad. It's every day of the week, and it's all day long. This anti-racism thing, and you would think now, white Western societies are the least racist societies that have ever existed in the history of the human race. There's no question about that. The idea that white people are inherently racist is, well, you have to be mad, actually mad, to believe that. There's nothing in history to back it up. There's nothing in human psychology to back it up. Nothing. But there you are, and I'm wandering again off the point. But there you are, MTK Global, a company set up by a heroin dealer to launder his money. And the police in Ireland he's number one on their list. They're doing everything to get him. They will eventually. They will eventually. And everyone knows this in Ireland, including Katie Taylor. And Katie Taylor is signed with MTK. Chantal Cameron, one of my very favourite boxers, she's signed with MTK. And all of these people know they're not stupid. They know where the money's coming from, and they don't give a damn. But all of these people are the very people who, very anti-racist, very concerned about immigrants and gay people and women and all that. But when it comes to women being murdered by these drug pushers, no comment.